Yo, what's good, Girl 413 here back in the day, and today, guys, I'm going to be going over the brand new Formula Drift Car Pack here in Forza Motorsport 7, which is pretty damn awesome and is available today. For those of you guys who pre-ordered Forza Horizon 4 digitally, you will receive this car pack in Forza Motorsport 7, as well as an identical car pack in Forza Horizon 4, which is pretty awesome. I've actually been driving these cars in Horizon 4 a little bit, and I've been absolutely loving it. But this car pack starts off with this car right here, the 2016 Formula Drift number 530 HSV Maloo Gen-F. Then we have the 2015 Formula Drift number 13 Ford Mustang, followed by the 2006 Formula Drift number 43 Dodge Viper SRT10. After that, we have the 1997 Formula Drift number 777 240SX, followed up by the 1996 Formula Drift number 232 Nissan 240SX. And then we have the 1995 Formula Drift number 118 Nissan 240SX. And then finally we have the 1989 Formula Drift number 98 BMW 325i. Honestly, guys, I was really surprised to see 3 Nissan 240SXs. I mean, they are an amazing car, and I absolutely love them. But I was kind of hoping for a little bit more diversity here. Of course, there was always the option of having a Toyota race car in here. As you guys know, there's the Toyota race car exemption. But I still love this car pack, guys. It is absolutely amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. So starting things off, we have the 2016 Holden Ute Formula Drift Car. And honestly, guys, this thing is quite powerful with exactly 1,000 horsepower. But the coolest thing about this car isn't its horsepower output. No, in fact, the coolest thing about this car is that this car was actually designed in Forza Motorsport 7 by somebody in the painting community, which is pretty awesome. If you guys go ahead and take a look at this design, it's got like this weird, awesome robot kangaroo boxing deal, which reminds me so much of the movie Kangaroo Jack, which was about a boxing kangaroo. I mean, it's honestly very reminiscent of the movie, and I absolutely love the design. But let's actually go ahead and talk about how this car handles. This car, I feel like it's just a little bit too powerful. Honestly, I feel like this car would be pretty good at maybe like 900 or maybe 850 horsepower, as I feel like it has just a slight too much. As you guys actually see as I drift here, what happens when I go ahead and hit one of these corners, the car will start to pull in a certain direction, and then it'll start to pull just a little bit quicker, and then it'll sort of stall, giving you an opportunity to go ahead and sort of counter steer into the drift. But at the same time, it's something I'm not necessarily used to. I'm used to more of a smooth transition, which is what we'll see in the next car. But as you guys go ahead and see this right here, like, it's very jittery. It's very, I don't know how to necessarily put it at the moment. It goes, and then you got to counter steer. It like goes, stops, and then counter steer. It's so bizarre, guys. It really and truly is. But it's still a lot of fun to go ahead and drive, and definitely a cool addition to the game. So next up, what we have is the 2015 Ford Mustang Formula Drift Car. And honestly, this is one of my favorite cars to drift out of this entire car pack. It has a very, very smooth transition, and it's absolutely a blast to drive. Here at Maple Valley, it actually feels like it is perfectly powered and perfectly tuned just for this track. It is honestly remarkable about how good this car feels on this track. I absolutely love it. In fact, I did go ahead and enter into one of the new Rivals events that came out for this car pack, which I believe is the Formula Drift Car Pack Challenge. It is not the Bounty Hunter Challenge that I think we will be seeing tomorrow. But I was actually able to do very, very well. Not very many people have done it, and right now I'm in the top 20% in the world. I'm like ranked number 54 out of like 254 in America, and I think I'm like 73 out of like 300 and something in the world. Not very many people have necessarily done the challenge yet, but we'll see how I actually look at the end of it. And this was the car that I went ahead and chose for that event. I actually beat Slap Train, so that might tell you something right there. I absolutely love this car, guys. It is fantastic. It has such a very nice smooth transition. It's perfectly powered. It doesn't get a huge amount of angle like the Holden actually would get, about 60 to 65 degrees angle. This car maybe gets about 30 to 35, maybe even 40 degrees. It's not super angly, but I mean, I like it. I really do. I like the way this handles. It is probably one of my favorite cars in this entire car pack. So next up what we have is the most powerful and probably the most difficult car to control out of the entire car pack, and that is the 2006 Dodge Viper SRT10. This thing is an absolute beast, rocking out with 1,350 horsepower. Honestly, just driving this thing, it takes so much throttle control and so much steering input. It is absolutely insane. Now, those of you guys who are really experienced with drifting should have no problem driving this whatsoever. But those of you guys who are looking to kind of learn, I feel like this may be a little bit more of a difficult car to go ahead and start with. I would not recommend it. In fact, the one I would recommend the most is yet to come. But honestly, this car right here is a lot of fun to drive. It really and truly is. Just the amount of input that it takes, you're constantly on your feet with it. Which I know some people are probably not going to like that because, you know, for drifting, when it goes right, it really works. But when it goes wrong, it really goes wrong. Because, I mean, 1,350 horses is a lot to corral. I mean, it is absolutely insane. Guys, this car is a lot of fun to drive, but it is actually probably my least favorite car out of this car pack just for that reason. I mean, when we go ahead and get into a corner, it gets a lot of angle. It really and truly does. But the thing is, though, is it takes so much output and so much counter steer to get it to work. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be good for a beginning drifter. But for those of you guys who are experienced, this car may be at the top of your guys' list because it is a lot of fun, but it also does have a good amount of snap steer to it. Not as much as the Holden when it comes to snap steer. It's actually relatively smooth. But once you get to a certain angle, I mean, it's just gone. You're not saving it. And it's kind of a little bit of a disappointment because you can't take this car to its full potential at times, because I could really get this thing to go full, like, 80 degrees or something like that down the track, and it would be absolutely insane like this. But at the same time, you know, you're losing your points and you might end up off track. Anyway, though, I love this car, guys. I feel like it's a little bit too powerful, though, for Forza Motorsport 7 to be, like, actually a good, reliable drifter. But for those fun occasions where you just want to get in something and have a little bit of fun, it is definitely a good option. So next up what we have is we have our first Nissan 240SX. This one being the one with the S15 front end. And honestly, guys, this car, it's shocking. It is actually really shocking about how this car handles, because you would think this one would be very similar to the Dodge Viper in the fact that this one has 1,250 horsepower. It is extremely powerful. However, though, when you're driving it, it actually feels really heavy and sluggish. And that's because it kind of is. This thing weighs 3,100 pounds, which is the same as our Ford Mustang. That is absolutely crazy. But driving this, it actually doesn't take a whole lot of talent to, because it doesn't want to get a whole bunch of angle, but you can get a whole bunch of angle if you want it to. As we'll actually go around this corner, you can see, like, I'm holding it at like 15 relatively easily, you know, not a huge amount of angle, but then we can come out of the corner, pick up our angle, go into this one, and get a good amount, and as you guys saw right there, my counter steer was just a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much. If you guys want to learn how to drift and you have the Formula Drift Car Pack, this is probably the car that I would recommend going ahead and starting out with. It's a little bit sluggish, but even for 1,250 horsepower, it really doesn't feel like it. It feels more like 600. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's got a crap ton of horsepower like it does, but it is still a lot of fun. I absolutely love this car, and it's much more reliable than the Dodge Viper was. That's all I can say. That is all I can say. So next up what we have is we have the second Nissan 240SX, this one having the Boss Rocket Bunny kit installed. And honestly, guys, I'm going to say this is my favorite car out of the entire car pack. One, because I already use a Nissan 240SX with the Boss wide body kit on it. But two, this thing also feels very much like it. Like, my regular drift car is the Nissan Silvia K's Aero, which has this kit available for it. And honestly, this shouldn't make any sense, but it does. This car has 500 more horsepower and thinner tires. And yet, it feels so similar to my current drift car. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And what I said about the Dodge Viper and the Holden so far, Honestly, this car would make no sense as being my favorite, but it's so bizarre. It really and truly is, and I absolutely love it. It almost feels like the Dodge Viper and the Ford Mustang had a baby. Like that's the best way that I can put it, because it's got a lot of power and it is very quick and aggressive, and the power is on demand. But unlike the Viper, it doesn't really want to pull away from you, and it's very smooth like the Mustang. So honestly, this is my favorite car out of the car pack, guys. I absolutely love it, and I cannot wait to use this car some more in Forza Motorsport 7 and Forza Horizon 4. After that, we come to our third Nissan 240SX, this one having the RainX design on it. And honestly, guys, in my opinion, this one is sort of in between the other two. It feels a little bit more powerful than the first one, although it is not. It's actually significantly less powerful, as I think this one has less than 1,000 horsepower, but it feels a little bit more powerful as it is lighter by about 200 pounds than the first one. It feels a little bit more nimble and honestly takes quite a bit less throttle input to actually get a drift started, and takes about the same to keep it going. Honestly, this car is pretty awesome. I will say that. It is one of the most reliable cars in this car pack, I would say. You know, it does exactly what you would expect it to, and I kind of like that about it, especially for those of you guys who are going to be sort of getting into drift along with this car pack. This one would be the one that I would recommend after that first Nissan 240SX, because that first one takes so much throttle to actually get a drift started. I don't know why it is. It feels so sluggish. This one still feels a little bit sluggish compared to especially the one that has the Boss Rocket Bunny kit. But at the same time, this car is amazing, and I absolutely do love it. And it's going to be a lot of fun using this in the future. And finally, we come to the Bmw Formula Drift Car. This car is very, very smooth as well, and it's a lot of fun to drive, although at times it can also be a little jerky, kind of like how the Holden was. But this one I actually like significantly more than the Holden. I really, really like this car. I don't know if it's the small wheelbase that it has, or maybe it's just that huge fan in the back. I really like how that fan looks, and I love the fact that it's actually animated as we're driving along here. And the body kit on this car looks absolutely fantastic. You know what? I really like this car. I like the way it handles. You know, it handles halfway decently. It's fun to drive. It's kind of quirky. It's probably the weirdest handling one out of all the other cars in the car pack, but at the same time, it's still a lot of fun. It's still relatively easy to drift. You know, I enjoy it. I really, really do. This car pack is honestly one of my favorite car packs that we've had, because the drift community hasn't really got a whole lot of love over the years, and now it finally feels like we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere, and I really do enjoy it. Oh my god, guys. But now what I want to do is I really quickly want to sort of list off my favorites out of this car pack from most favorite to least favorite. So starting things off with my favorite car in this car pack, we have the 1996 number 232 Nissan 240SX, because it just feels so familiar, guys. It feels so familiar to me. I actually went back and looked at my drift car, and honestly, I'm rocking with tire width 325 and power at like only 690, so this car is significantly faster and has narrower tires. So I don't know why this car feels so familiar, but it is a lot of fun to go ahead and drive. My second favorite car is the 2015 Ford Mustang, which is actually the car that I've been using the most of in Forza Horizon 4. In fact, I've actually gone ahead and done the full car mastery for this car. I actually like it that much, guys. That is a lot of fun. My third favorite car is actually the 1989 Formula Drift number 98 BMW 325i. It's quirky, but it's so much fun to go ahead and drive. My second favorite is going to be, well, no, this is actually number 4, my 1995 Formula Drift number 118 Nissan 240SX. It just has that much power input that it really feels like, you know, you can hold it and it's going to be extremely reliable. My fifth favorite is actually going to be the other Nissan 240SX, the 1997 number 777 Nissan 240SX. This one feels very heavy, but it's still very reliable. My sixth favorite is actually going to be the Holden. I really like the hold-in. It's kind of weird when you're drifting, though, and you get to that one angle, and then all of a sudden it just stops for a little bit. And it's like, do you want to go farther, or would you like to turn back? And usually the answer to that question is you got to turn back because that's when you're going to be transferring. And honestly, it's quirky. I like it. I love the design, and I love the fact that the design on this car was actually made by somebody in the Forza community. And then my least favorite is the 2016 Formula Drift number 43 Dodge Viper SRT10. I just feel like it's a little too powerful and a little bit too difficult to control. Most people who are, have been drifting for a little while are going to have no problem whatsoever driving this car. Competitively, though, I don't really think it's going to be that great until somebody tunes it up a little bit. But it is still a lot of fun, and I absolutely love every single car in this car pack. It is an amazing thing. So, but anyway, though, I think that's where we're going to go and wrap things up for today. Leave a comment down below and let me know which car is your favorite. Of course, my favorite being the 1996 number 232 Nissan 240SX. As well, if you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at twitter.com/Garrett413 and Instagram.com/Garrett413. And if you guys like this video, go and make sure to hit that like button down below for us, because you guys already know your support is so greatly appreciated. And make sure to hit subscribe for more videos coming out all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. Bye.